Let's get out of here. All right. Off to do some work, hanging out with the Papa Bear, helping do some labour for some fence or whatever. I don't know. It's going to be outdoors and probably more hard work than I'd want on a Saturday, to be honest. But regardless, let's just get cracking and get to it. Now, been pretty interesting. I reckon I've seen a lot of people in in chats or just amongst colleagues or, even on YouTube and stuff, people just like quitting medicine. They're either medical students or they're, started work as junior doctors, most often the latter, but it's like they start realizing maybe this isn't for them, which is, I don't know, maybe a little bit interesting, a little bit odd, given that they, I don't know, have done all this hard work to get into medicine, and then it's just like, well, probably not for me at the end of the day, or let's give this a miss. And it's like, I don't know, didn't you think about this before? Or why are you like realizing now after like 7+ years of study potentially and maybe 3 or more years of work? And it's like, well, you guys gonna let me in? Nope. But yeah, I think it's an interesting trend. I don't know what has spiked a lot of people doing it, or if it's just, social media and people have always been doing it. I don't know what the difference is between people now wanting to quit medicine versus, say, 5 years ago, 10 years ago, and if there's been any significant change. However, it is interesting to pick up on like a flurry of people wanting to do it or second guessing whether medicine is the right thing for them. And I don't know, I can't help but think people are only realizing when they're actually working in the role what it takes or what it looks like, and the original reasons why they got into medicine for the first place are now coming a little bit undone because there's a disconnect between what they got into initially and what their reality is now and what is going to be their future reality, which is pretty interesting to see. And you see like people maybe not doing the thing that they want, or maybe they're failing exams, or they can't get into the specialty that they want to get into, or maybe they don't have as much time for other things in their life that they actually now realize they have more weight on or want to spend more time doing. So the things that maybe weren't so important to them initially, or what they thought weren't, are now actually a pretty important part of their life. And yeah, that can take a little bit to realize. I think it makes you, if you see this and you're maybe about to start medicine, or you're a current medical student, or maybe you're another junior doctor and you're thinking the exact same thing, I would bring it back to why you actually got into medicine in the first place. Very interesting stuff. I actually didn't realize, but you're probably wondering, who is this guy in the car and where is his little stash that he's been wearing for a few years? And I'll be honest, I shaved it off because I'm regrowing it for Movember, and it's shocking to say the least. From my point of view, I wake up and I'm like, what? I remember this kid in high school who looked like this, but not now. Not now. It feels like I've actually taken a few years off my life, which is, I don't know if I want that. I always like to seem older than I am. I don't want to seem younger. I don't know, as a guy, who wants to seem younger unless you're like middle age or older and you actually want to feel like, you're 30 or 20 or 25 again or whatever. But right now, I don't want to be this baby face person. I want my stachio back. So regrowing it as fast as I can. I've already started to gain some traction just one day after having removed it from my face. So yeah, anyways, the link is in my description if you want to donate to a wonderful cause in Movember, supporting men's health, prostate cancer research, everything like that, testicular cancer, suicide and mental health. So the link will be there. Hopefully we can get some traction and get some funds raised for that, which would be very good. And you get to see my stash come back in the process, which is always good. So yeah, very busy day, to be honest. A lot of people out. But yeah, I guess getting back to what we were saying with people getting out of medicine, or this trend where, I don't know if it's like just this generation that I'm in, or this current wave where it's a shift between, well, it's really a shift from working like a dog to get where you want to get to, and maybe realizing maybe there's something else in life that you want to do rather than dedicate everything to the medical field. And it is, I don't know, I don't think much has changed. I think people just think about it a little bit differently, and maybe it's just documented or covered more on social media is why it's probably picked up a bit, and people are like, wow, look, there's so many people like jumping on this like bandwagon. And it's not a bad thing to realize that you don't want to do something, quit, and then change your mind. But if I was in their shoes and I was thinking, well, I don't want to do it anymore, and it's been like 8 years and I've just started, then you start to question, well, have I really got into it for the right reasons, or did I think it was going to be something different in the end? So that's why I think these whole things of seeing other people in the medical profession in real life in different stages of their training, so you can actually get a feel for what the requirements are, what the life looks like, what stuff you actually do, what you can't do, how long it takes to get to where you supposedly want to get to. That is so important, because if you don't see that, you don't have a good idea, and you're just guided by whatever people tell you, like anecdotal evidence, or what you see in the news, or on like random TV shows that give you a very different point of view to what it is actually like in reality. So yeah, I think the more real evidence and points of view that you get from real life doctors who do this job day in, day out, that's going to be the best port of call for how you get a feel of why medicine would be right for you or why it wouldn't be. And then you can actually make a much more informed decision before you actually just say, oh yeah, let's do it. Because it's a big decision to make, and once you're in, you obviously can get out and do something else, but I just wouldn't want to waste that time. I think it's different as well. There's people who might have had a crack for quite a while, but it's these people who get into it and it's like a year or two in and you're like, nah, something else. And I don't know, maybe I'm a hypocrite and I'll quit medicine in 2 or 3 years, but watch this space. Hopefully not. I think I have pretty good motivation to keep cracking on and doing it, rather than maybe some other people who have more superficial reasons for it, and maybe are not in it for the long haul, or are just not interested in doing as much of it as possible. Yeah, watch this space. But Yeah, I don't know if it doesn't have to be like a medical thing, but it's like if you're gonna start like a journey on something and you potentially might be in there for like 10, 15, 20 years, you probably want to make sure that you have a good idea of what it entails and what it sort of looks like, or what the end of the road, what the end goal could look like for you. And yeah, I think that if you don't consider it, then it's a bit like a missed opportunity, and maybe you could have been doing something else this whole time instead of what you're currently doing, which is what a lot of people start to realize maybe a year into it, 2 years into it, and then they just almost freak out and think, well, I need to get out of here, I can't do it anymore. And it's almost like an overwhelming sensation. I guess in the big picture though, you will have days where it's like not going great, or you might have weeks where it's not going great, but then I guess it turns around and you have like a different perspective in the bigger picture of it all, and it doesn't like last for the whole year or for the whole 2 years, or it's not an overwhelming sensation that you don't want to be there. But realize that if you have an off day or an off week, or you're just going through a difficult period with like exams or whatever it is, that's not a reason to get out of medicine because there's like a little bit of a speed hump or adversity. So it's very easy when you're trying a lot and then you're met with some failure or some like hiccup that you think, wow, I'm not good at it. I'm just like gonna give up and change track. Take a step back, don't act in the moment, give it time to settle. And if it's transient and your overall goal and motivation and everything hasn't really changed, then so what if there's like a little hiccup along the way? It still means that you've probably made the right decision, and you probably shouldn't make any rash moves to get out. Different changes in pace is always good for longevity, but getting out completely and never doing it again is a big decision to make. So I think exploring aspects of how medicine fits in with your life and make it as dynamic as possible. When you first start out, maybe you're wanting a bit more of a fast-paced, high intensity, high pressure environments, and then at the end of the day, maybe 5 years into it, you think maybe not. Maybe I want a bit more relaxed, a bit more chill, less stress, less pressure. So you switch into a different area in medicine, or you might be in the same specialty, but something slightly less onerous. If you have goals to travel, or have family and want more of an emphasis on that rather than the work itself. So there's different categories in medicine within the specialty, and if you can make it work dynamically as you get older and transition to different points in your life, then that's probably a good thing for you. And maybe you can actually like understand it more and not be so rigid, because obviously sometimes it's like, well, you'll be doing this job for 5 years and you'll be like, well, I'm burnt out. And you're like, well, yeah, you may actually be burnt out, but that doesn't mean that you're burnt out and finished with medicine. Maybe it's like this role that you're doing needs to be switched, and maybe that's a different geographical location. Maybe if it's a different hospital or health network, or the people themselves. It could just be the actual specialty that, has those sort of personalities or people that come to it. So this guy's just indicating. Just waiting for like, I don't know what he's waiting for. He was indicating for like 5 years, and then I left him all this space, and he just decided he's just going to wait for me. Like, my man, go, take it, it's yours. Yeah, always funny to hear people, have different opinions and thoughts of why people quit medicine, and what they think they should do or not do, and how people get selected for medicine, and and all those things. So it's not a bad reason to actually maybe do something before you get into medicine as well. So maybe it's a different health science degree, maybe it's a different area of focus, rather than going from high school to medicine, where you have a period of your life where you're exploring different other options. But I don't know, that just gets into the philosophy of everything, and I think just if you want something, go and do it. I guess if you just spend your time like planning and theorizing what it might be like, you actually need to get in and get some experience. Like, that's why I really liked work experience. I don't know if people still do it at the school, where they go into different professions to see what it is like in a hospital, or what it is like working in like a law firm, or out on like a building site, or at a footy ground, or in a bank, or whatever it is, like in a tattoo parlor. Like, see what it is like being in the profession that you want to get good at and specialize in. And until you spend time and consume content on people who are doing that stuff, you're not going to get a feel for what it's actually like. So that would be my advice. Spend and consume as much content from real life people doing that, and then you can actually compare it to what it might be like for you, and whether that fits into what you actually like. The other thing which people often talk about is, would you quit medicine if you actually got super rich and didn't have to do that work for the money? And I think that's a pretty, unlikely situation for a lot of people who won't spontaneously get rich off some random investment, or maybe it's like, winning the lotto, or some inheritance, or whatever side hustle they're doing. But people like to think about the what if and those big picture moments. But I guess in theory, if you had a whole lot of money and you didn't have to do all this hard work and you could do other things in life, then sure, why not? Why wouldn't you leave medicine unless you were so in love with it? So to an extent, there is like a breaking point where you think, well, I probably don't want to get up at 6 a.m. every day and work for 14-hour days, 5 days a week. I'd rather do something else, where I'm like traveling, or playing sport, or doing something else. But then it gets back to the point, well, you need some purpose, you need some skill. So unless you're developing those, or having some actual progress, rather than just doing spontaneous bits of activity for your pleasure or leisure, maybe that's a little bit unfulfilling. So I guess reflecting on the week past, it's been pretty good. Not as busy as was expected, or not as busy as the week before, which was absolute madness. Clinic and operating theatre pretty much every single day, and then seeing referrals late at night, like just very taxing. The way it's set up is you're on call during the day, but you're allocated to stuff. So whether it's clinic, or whether it's like an operating list where you actually get to participate in the surgeries, if not do the whole surgery yourself with supervision, but then balancing that with new referrals, new consults, and you're sort of the only one who takes those things on. And it's good. It's a good challenge, I think, first starting out, first year doing this whole registrar-like role, to be getting good at that delegation versus weighing up what's most urgent to do at that time. And I think one thing that I have just started sort of thinking about is, like, when you are operating in the public hospital system, and as a junior registrar looking to improve your skills, improve your obviously your consulting skills, but then your actual physical operating skills as well, you start to tailor the year in terms of what you want to get out of it and what things you need to learn in order to progress to the next level. And that's kind of an interesting point of view to take, right? Because if you look at it differently from just doing your job, going home, getting paid, I don't know, that is not as fulfilling as, well, I've got 6 months in this role. What can I get done to improve my skills so that I'm really good at X or really good at Y? And I've been struggling with this thing for a while. I need to see patients who present with X condition or Y condition, and I really want to try this technique, or I want to perform this operation, so I'm going to put these patients on the list. And it's interesting when you plan the operating lists. I mean, you have to liaise with the bookings office and then the consultants who are actually assigned to that operating list. And you sort of need to take control and a bit of responsibility for what the list is booked like, and whether you have time to do things or whether it's a bit overbooked. And I haven't really thought about this thing until this year, where you actually start to tailor your learning and really take responsibility for it. I think last year and the year before, well, the year before was my first year as a doctor, and you think, oh, I'm just in survival mode, like trying to play it cool, calm and collected, and then I'm like a duck underwater, just frantically paddling to keep my head afloat. And then last year as a resident, it's like, well, I'm just gonna be open to whatever thing happens at work, whatever experience or patient presentation comes up. I'm just gonna be like, yeah, put myself in the deep end and figure it out after. Now, as a registrar, it's like slightly different, where you are taking a whole lot of responsibility for you to actually say, well, there are people who present with X complaint, and I really don't know much about that, or always need to consult a boss before thinking about what the main management goals are for this patient. What if I actually, see a few patients like this in clinic and do a bit of reading on it and actually figure out what the best thing to do for that for those patients are. And you actually, being in the same role for a longer period of time, actually start to see progression of patients through it, which is a really interesting thing that I haven't experienced before. If you see a patient in clinic and then you rebook them for, say, 3 weeks time, 4 weeks time, you're doing that same clinic, and then you see them in that second clinic and you actually see progress, or no progress at all, or failure, or a complication, or an adverse event, and then you think, well, maybe I should do this differently. And I don't know, this longevity of care is a different mindset to actually just one-off patient interactions, which I think a lot of the life of a junior doctor is filled up with, right? You get a referral, you have like a complaint, you have an announcement over the loudspeaker. It's a patient who is like short of breath, or they've got chest pain. You get a page from the nursing staff, I need you to review this person who's got abdominal pain or has had a fall. They're all once-off situations with different patients that either you're on a cover shift, or maybe you're on like an emergency department rotation. You're not going to be there for 6 months. You're going to be there for maybe 5 weeks, if not maximum of 3 months, So having an extended role in the year, maybe it's 6 months, 9 months, 12 months, and you're at the same health center, seeing people actually progress or get better over time is a good perspective to take. And I think it's a necessary one, because otherwise you don't see the bigger picture of everything. You're just dealing with acute situations, and having that ability to zoom in microscopically and zoom out macroscopically to think about, well, sure, this patient's got this condition on this day, but how are they going to look in 14 days? How are they going to look in 2 months down the track? And having an idea of the actual natural history of that medical condition is a super good perspective to have as a junior doctor. And it's not something that we get exposed to as much as we would like. And it's a little bit later down the track that you maybe have that continuity of care. So yeah, I guess leading on from that, when it comes to operation lists and getting the most out of it for yourself, you want to try to put operations on your lists that you are assigned to that you're going to get real benefit out of. And whether it's an operation that you haven't seen much of, or you've only done one or two of, or haven't really you haven't really been the lead operator in, you've just been an assistant in, putting more of those operations on your to-do list and then doing them with different consultants is such a challenge. It's really exciting to do that. So you have an operation that you do with this consultant, and that's done slightly differently with the other consultant, and then also for the consultant after that. They're all doing it slightly differently, and you can sort of collate those and figure out the best way that you want to operate. And you learn from each one of them in different ways. All their techniques are neither completely wrong or completely right, but they all have their pros and cons. So yeah, looking at that and your progression from that sort of perspective rather than doing a job, going home, getting paid, I think brings a bit more fulfillment to your role, and maybe you actually see stuff in a different light and view stuff a bit more practically, because otherwise it's you can actually, as maybe people are falling out of love with what they're doing, or thinking that they're not doing it, they're not in the right field, or they should be doing something else. But I don't know, man, grass is always greener. You see all these people that chop and change, and they think, just transient thoughts about, they don't let it marinate for a while and actually consider how they're acting towards it or what their perspective is. And at the end of the day, I don't mind if people leave, and it just means less competition, because you can outwork people to get where you want to be, and just show other people that you care, you're interested, and you're actually invested in what you're doing. And it's very easy to tell if people are into it or not into it. Anyways, I think that's enough ranting. I'm gonna go and crack on with the rest of this day. Looks pretty sunny, looks pretty good. Gonna go outside and do some actual labor work, which is something I don't really want to do, but dragged into. Anyways, we'll leave it there. If you do, as I said, with this Movember thing, see my link in the description. Click on it, make a little donation, whether it's 50 cents, $1, $20, $50, whatever you think of. It's a really good cause, and something I'm pretty passionate about. So also a great organisation around the world. And yeah, as I said, I get to actually become a man again. Otherwise, I just have this baby face, which has this annoying little stubble, and don't know about it. But then, yeah. Anyways, see you next time. Bye.